Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video on E.Stampley art. I want to first apologize for the audio. It might be a little echoey. I forgot my adapter for my microphone, so I'm just using the external mic. So just want to let you know what's going on there. Also, I wanted to apologize for video coming out late. I was supposed to release a video about a month ago, but I was a little sick, not COVID sick, but just sick nonetheless. And so that kind of delayed me doing a video for that week. Hopefully we are back on track and I'll be able to release a video every 2 weeks as I plan. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, why don't we talk about what we're actually going to be doing in this video. So if you've been watching any of my videos lately, you know that I've been getting heavily into card making. It is my new obsession. Anyhow, so with card making, obviously you buy a bunch of different supplies, and some of the supplies you have to buy are ink pads. I discovered one ink pad that I wasn't quite sure how to use. So I'm talking about this. This is Hero Arts Contour ink. I watched the video on the Hero Arts website. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. Basically what it is you use this with your stamps and put it on the paper, and it gives you like this faint outline that you can use then to use your art supplies to color in the image however you want to do it. I thought that was really kind of a cool idea. So it's kind of like taking the stamp image and making it your own. So with this video, it's going to be a little bit of testing out this art supply, because obviously I have not opened it yet. So I'm going to be testing it out for myself, and also a little bit of a tutorial on how to use it if it's something that you want to use. I'm going to test it out using colored pencils, alcohol-based markers, water-based markers, and watercolor. Those are the things they said that you can use it for. It actually tells you that on the back. Since it's February, which is Heart Health Month, which also includes Valentine's Day, I figured a heart stamp would be perfect for this. This is kind of what it looks like when it's actually stamped, so you can kind of see. But yeah, that way we can color it the way we want to color it. I will put a link down below to everything I use in this video, so if you want to get these supplies and use them on your own for your card making or your art supplies stash, then you can do so. So we're going to use our stamp with our contour ink and stamp on this piece of paper right here, and then we'll pull out our art supplies and go from there. So let's get started, shall we? So like I'd said, I'd watched the little video on the Hero Arts website about how to use this particular stamp, and it did say it was going to be faint. However, I don't think I realized how faint they were talking about. When I put it on the stamp, it looked like you couldn't even see it, honestly, until you put it to the paper. You really have to kind of like soak it into the stamp a good bit. And it could be also because I used a stamp that has a lot of detail, which, you know, pros and cons there. It was hard sometimes to see like the detail because it is so faint, but that's the point, is to be so faint so you can draw over it or color over it, like making your own artwork. I always had the impression of what the stamp looked like kind of next to me, so I can kind of see, especially for little details that I didn't really notice on the paper. Maybe the stamp didn't get enough of the ink or whatever, but regardless of that, it definitely does what it's supposed to do. In this particular section right here, I'm using colored pencil, so it's really easy to go over it, like you didn't have any like residue that felt like it was on the paper. Note, I'm also using a Bristol board paper, so the ink kind of soaks in really well. So I'm just coloring over this with colored pencils. I'm using, obviously, the pinks and reds, a little bit of oranges up in there to give a little variety. But it was pretty easy just to kind of, essentially, you're kind of like outlining, coloring over the image. It turned out really nice with the colored pencils. So now I'm using my alcohol markers that I have, Copic markers. In this case, since the Copic markers on this particular paper tend to bleed out a little bit, it's going to look a little, you know, denser, won't be as sharp, I think, but that doesn't bother me. And since this stamp had, you know, very kind of minute details, and you can't get like uber detailed with the Copic markers, even using the minimal brush tip that you can, it just doesn't work that way because it's just not small enough. The nib is not small enough, I mean. But I was happy with how the alcohol-based markers worked on it too. And it pretty much covers up the stamped image, which is great. I mean, if you look really closely, like, you know, in your eye, you can see the stamp kind of behind it, but really just eyeballing it, you can't see it at all. And so in that case, the contour ink is definitely doing what it's supposed to do, just kind of fading into the background. So now I'm using the water-based markers, which are my Tombow markers. I'm starting off doing a similar kind of thing I did with like the colored pencils and the Copic markers, just kind of outlining the sections. And then I decided kind of later on that, you know, these are water-based markers. I can add water to them and give it a little bit more depth. So I do that. At first kind of like an accident, but then I was like, I kind of like where this is going, and I just kept going with it and started adding, you know, a little bit more shading, a little more depth around it. It turned out really well. I actually really liked how it gave it a subtle watercolor feel, you know, obviously with the water-based markers. So I went in and did like the flood of color, bleeding in with some pinks and even some blues and oranges in there, and then went in with some different colors, some blues, different things to kind of give it a little more detail on the inside. But I think the watercolor is definitely my favorite one. I like how it turned out. Maybe it's because the colors I used, I don't have like a big gigantic variety of like pink and red watercolor colors, so I was like, well, I can add a little bit more purple, a little more blues. So that gives it a little bit more variety. But overall, the watercolor and then the water-based marker version are my two favorites. Of course, you don't have to use like the supplies that I'm using in this video. These are the supplies they kind of recommended to use, but you could use, you know, black fine liners, colored fine liners. I think they would work really well, especially with something kind of detailed like this, to get in there and add your own little details. You can definitely do that. You could even do like, you know, do the watercolor and then do like a overlay with like, I think a fine liner or something, or a marker over it. You could even probably go into it with like some pencils, you know, just doing an outline with pencil, give it like some pencil shading, make it look like it's a sketch or drawing. I think you could do that too. That would be really cool. Those are just a few ideas, you know, obviously to be able to use this contour ink in many different ways. All right, and that's a few different ways that you can use this contour ink from Hero Arts to, you know, kind of take stamps and create your own artwork with it, whether it's in your art pieces or, you know, with card making and stuff, if that's what you want to do. Obviously, these are just a few different ways that you can use it, but I'm sure there are limitless possibilities. But yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do. I'd love to thank you for tuning into my latest video. Obviously, if you want to know about new videos when they are coming out on the channel, feel free to hit the notification bell or the red subscribe button somewhere down here. And always, you can follow more of my artistic journey on Instagram or Twitter at E.Stampley Art. As always, I'd love to thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!